special day because we'll be talking about the space race. It's pretty interesting if you ask me, because the United States and the Soviet Union were literally reaching for the stars. Looking back, the Soviets launched their first satellite. I should say that its name was Sputnik 1 and it was in orbit in 1957. To me, it seems like they knew what they were up to. In a second, we will see if President Kennedy was able to make a comeback to top off the Sputnik. It seems that it was just the hearing that the Soviet Union achieved something unbelievable. The U.S. Department of Defense would eventually fund the United States. If it decided to launch a major project like the one from the Soviet Union, sources close to us have let us know that we were in the process of sending creatures into outer space. And never did we know we would use that knowledge to send a man to space a few decades later.
The Soviet Union stunned everyone when they launched Sputnik 2 a few months after with the dog in it. The puppy's name was Laika. Everyone was shocked that they were sending lives into outer space. What was the U.S. bound to do?
While on the road to attempt to land a man on the moon, the United States had to sacrifice lives in order to learn from their mistakes. In 1957, the U.S. tried to compete with what the Soviet Union had achieved by launching a satellite, but unfortunately suffered some loss after it blew up on the launch pad. 10 years later, in 1967, the United States tried again by launching Apollo 1 into space, but that blasted up as well, but this time taking 3 lives along with it. It was a catastrophic time for the United States because of major pressure and humiliation from its people, and to make matters worse, a lot of money was being spent with no positive outcome and no new discovery.
It's been quite sad. May those that lost their lives rest in peace. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Soviets were advancing with their life into outer space by sending animals after, like look at. This time, the closest to the species, which is monkeys. Their names were Rhesus and Baker. And while US were failing on their projects, the Soviets were determined to advance their technology and to make a beautiful discovery.
Now coming to the end of the space race, after many years of failed attempts and lost lives, the United States redeemed itself and shocked the world by landing the first man on the moon in 1969. The launch of Apollo 11 was on July 16th, and the first foot was set on the moon 4 days later, making the U.S. the first country to ever achieve something this great and make history for mankind. For this amazing achievement, U.S. President John F. Kennedy had made a speech back in 1961, making a statement worldwide that the U.S. would be the first to land a human on the moon.
That was certainly something. After the major win on the U.S. side, the Soviets felt defeated and overpowered, therefore abandoning any future attempts to top up the greatest achievement of all time. During the time span, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union wanted to expand their sphere of influence by showing their advances in technology. However, the people were very cautious. What would happen with the newly discovered technology? After the landing on the moon, what was bound to happen? A lot of contradicting opinions stirred in the air during the time of the space race. Many thought this could be the start of the war after the U.S. defeated the Soviet Union. Others thought this would help advance the technologies used for future generations.